they just came from both sides, right? They set it up, but what happened was they had him on the ground, bro. They were beating the brakes off this kid, right? They I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of fist fights, like don't really make you, but I was like, holy, you know. And then they dragged him by his dreads up to the stairs, right? Because it had moved over towards the tables. They dragged him by his hair over to the stairs, put his head. They tried to curb him.
Back to the W number. I got my boy Pat here for part 2 with Sousa Baranowski Correctional Center time in Massachusetts, the state's only maximum security facility. And he's got a great story, surviving the marathon, going to jail in Chicago, you know, around the Latin Kings, Gangster Disciples. If you haven't seen the first part, go check that out. But we're going to jump right into this story, man. Pat, how's it been since the last podcast?
I've been good. Thank you. It's good to be back. What's up, everyone out there viewing? It wasn't that long ago that I just left the Max. Caught the case in 20. I was in Nashua Street for 2 years, you know, awaiting trial. I finally copped out. I was one of the first 50 or 100 guys to go to classification in the Max. They started the new classification up there.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's when they just opened up the new classification.
Yes, when the north side became classification.
Wow, so you actually been through that. I've never actually talked to anybody that's been there and actually gone through the new classification. So it'd be cool to go over that too. Yeah. So what was it like going through classification?
At first, you know, it sucked because you don't have anything. You know, when you first get somewhere, you don't have nothing, and you got to make it till your first canteen and hope that you didn't miss that week. I got there in June of 22. Like I said, there weren't a lot of guys there. They were still putting double bunking, welding the bunks in P2, because the whole second floor of the north side. So yeah, M1, N1, P1, and L1, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's all classification now.
Really?
But at first, it was just M and P.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and you know, it just, you know how it is. They don't stop arresting people. You know, that never stops. So
is it kind of like Walpole in the aspect that people were like, you know, bringing stuff through? It was like sneakers and all that stuff coming through.
Well, they cracked down on that stuff, like the colored black sneakers. You couldn't have even black sneakers were a no. Like I had bought a pair when I was in Nashua Street. I bought a pair of black Nikes that they actually sell in some of the mediums. Yeah. They took them from me.
Because they used to have all solid colors, so all white or all black, you can get them. So they changed that?
Yeah, to all white. So basically, I think it's the Reeboks, the high tops in the classics. And then, well, actually, you can't, in classification, you can't even, if you didn't come up with a pair of white sneakers from county, you were in Bobos.
Damn.
Yeah, you can't get the, obviously you can't clothes or electronics while you're in classification. You have to wait till you get to wherever your camp is.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, all you could order was canteen, like, you know, food.
What was the atmosphere like? You know how in Walpole, a lot of guys would come through and they're acting super tough, like they seen it in the movies and shit. Was it still like that in there? Like,
yeah, I never been to Walpole.
No,
but it definitely was like that there.
Yeah. Did you ever go to Concord before there?
The Max is the only one I've been around. Yeah.
Let me ask you, so far, like when you get there, compared to like Chicago or Florida, what's the differences that you've seen?
Oh, comfortability right away. I mean, the first thing is I'm comfortable because, you know, I'm at least from around this region, this area. You know, I'm definitely going to know guys. You know, convicts usually, the recidivism's pretty high. So you bump into guys that, you know, either you met in other jails or you already met in prison or here or there, or you know them from the streets.
Right.
Yeah, it's right away. Like, the thing about, like I had said, if I had been to Nashua Street, and maybe South Bay on a small bit before I got locked up in Florida. It kind of was beneficial to me because I learned how to, you know, act on my own, you know, how to carry myself and not depend on anyone else, you know. I learned that, like, you know, I got it's only me. So, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
and
why
keep
did
that
up front.
Like, what forced you to really feel like that and start acting like that in prison?
Everyone's clicked up. Down there was weird, like I said. You got the Zoes or you got... They go, like, at the time when I was down there, they were doing it by area code. Like, you know, they say, 561 or 305. You know, they all hunt together.
And that's in Florida. What part of Florida was that?
I got arrested driving up 95. Right?
Yeah.
I lived in Boca. I was running around down there in Boca and Deerfield. I was coming home to Boston for good.
Yeah.
I was on my way home. I had a check from a car accident, like I had a settlement waiting for me. I was coming home to get it, and going up 95, I got pulled over. It happened to me in St. Lucie County. I don't know much about St. Lucie County.
Yeah, me neither.
I know the jail is in Fort Pierce. That's where I went, and that's where I was held pre-trial.
Is there a major city that's next to that we would know of?
Not a major city. From what I was told, it was one of the more dangerous places other than Miami. Yeah, Fort Pierce, I guess, is pretty rough, you know. But like I said, I never experienced being out on the street, but I came across all the guys doing time, you know. My last stop was Florida.
Damn, so you went to the max up here and then to Florida down there.
Yeah, so I thought I was going home. I'll get to that. If you want to talk about the max
let's talk
first.
about the max first, and then we'll jump into how you ended up in Florida, because that's doing a bit after a bit. You're in the max, you're going through classification. How do you get classified to the max? Like, what makes you end up staying?
I had all dumb tickets that came back to haunt me. I caught a case. Originally in Bill Ricker, I caught a case. I had all kinds of trouble. They shipped me to Nashua Street. I was fined for like 18 months, not a single ticket, just being a runner, just, keeping to myself. Next thing I know, because I associated with someone, they came and ripped my cell down. They actually started taking like the heater off the wall, and like they were going hard. They found a knife there. It really wasn't even mine. I had nothing to lie about now. All right, it really wasn't mine. But probably there for 10 years.
Yo, word. A lot
you know what I mean? Like, that's how it is. If someone hides something good and no one finds it, it could stay there for a long time.
I mean, it happens all the time in the max or in Walpole, especially Walpole. The old prisons, like, they'll find those rusty ass old knives and write you a ticket, but still tell you, like, no, it's not yours, but it's in your cell. We have to write you a ticket. It sucks. So that's what you ended up getting classed to the max for? Yeah,
I caught a case, awaiting trial. Then I was behaved for a while. Then
you caught a case for what?
Introduction, but then it got dropped to possession or something.
Tell the story about that.
So that was when I first went in. So my case originated in Medford, right? So I was at Medford Police Station, went to Bill Ricker.
Right.
It was during COVID. All right, so they were doing, if anyone's familiar with Bill Ricker, we're in the old building on the A and B tier. That was quarantine.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at. It was quarantine. The A and B was quarantine. You had to do 2 weeks there before you went to the new building. That's how they were doing it at the time. I also had a parole violation. I was out on parole at the time. So I was kind of ready to go back if, most people will understand what that means,
Yeah.
I was ready to go back because I knew I was going at some time, but I only owed 30 days on the parole, and I caught the new case. Yeah, so it sucked, man.
Yeah.
It's like every time I was about to get out, every time I was about to get out, go home, boom, I got more time.
I
went on for 6 straight years, getting more time.
I've been there, yeah.
You
get these on and afters, you got these, you get classed to the max. What block do you end up going to?
My first stop was G2, and that was from, I don't know where Hernandez killed himself.
Yep.
Where he died. I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so G2 was my first stop. The only Southie guy up there was Okie. Okie was up. I'm sure you know Okie.
Yeah, I know
Everyone
Okie.
knows Okie.
Salute to Okie.
Yeah, Okie, what up, man? Yeah, he's still got a while to go, unfortunately, man. That's my guy, though. I love Okie.
Yeah, Okie's a great dude. Crazy. He used to be very wild when he was young.
He was getting in just now.
Yeah, he's still crazy because, he has to have the last word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's one of them guys. You cannot get the last one. He has to have it, dude. And a lot of guys just ain't for it.
Hey,
so fight him.
White Show used to. I don't know what. I ain't even gonna say it on here.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because I don't want Okie to get mad at me. But White Show, fuck it. Hey.
Yeah, Okie ain't gonna see. It's 25 years he's got.
White Show every Saturday. Life is Block had yard, and they would come if. The rec deck in G2 hangs over basically the south side yard. So White Show would come and we were sending him stuff through the fence, and he started calling Okie Rosie O'Donnell. I feel so bad saying that, but because I know he hated it.
Funny.
Yeah,
Okie does.
That was a good. That was definitely a good lookalike. Rosie O'Donnell. It was fucking funny.
Yo, that's fucking wreck, bro.
Hey, Okie. I don't want to make this all about Okie, but the shit he would say to the COs, it was like he did not fucking care. Like, he would say the craziest shit. Like, he was funny. So it was me and Okie. There was other good guys there. Kenny Parker.
Yep,
Kenny Parker was there. Solid. What's up, Kenny? If you're out there,
yep.
Hope you're doing well.
Kenny, bro, another boy out there.
Sean Hickey was my first cellie.
Okay, Sean.
So I remember everywhere I went. Cell 15, G2, Sean Hickey. That was my first. So my first cellie was a good one. It was Hickey. White Shul, because I was a Southie guy, White Shul had like set it up for me to get a gym job. So I was waiting for that, and all of a sudden I was with Kenny. We're on the rec deck working out. They're calling me to the desk. So I'm like, Kenny, come with me. Obviously you don't want to go up there by yourself. You want someone with you.
Right.
To verify everything you're saying or what's going on.
Right. And the reason behind that, just explain the little reason behind it.
So the reason behind you want to have someone with you is they know you're not telling, they know you're not passing a note, they know you're not doing something that you shouldn't be.
Right.
Been going on for a long time. And
so you guys go to the desk?
So we go to the desk, and they're like, Shaughnessy, you want the laundry job?
Yeah.
And I'm like, everywhere else the laundry job kind of sucks, like that I'd been. And Kenny's like, bro, take that fucking job. Take it. So I'm like, all right, yeah. I'd only been in G2 for maybe a month.
Yeah.
And I already had the laundry job.
Yeah.
And I get the reason I had it is pretty comical. The reason I brand new to the max, like every guys up there that have been there 20 years, 30 years, right?
Yeah.
I just happened to be like the only guy who didn't have keepaways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like
honestly,
the only
it happens
one.
like that.
There was no one in the building that I ever had trouble with.
How about just being the only guy without a freeze on your account?
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get canteen. They're trying to send you money to get canteen. Everybody's got dirty errands and freezes. And shit.
It's actually, when I was up there, they really kind of stopped caring about the drugs. It was just this metal, man. They were just looking for metal.
So let's talk about how it was with the atmosphere with South Boston guys in the G2 block, because I've been over there myself, and I'm actually going to do a video on just bidding with these guys, because it's just like a whole nother world in the max. You know the difference between bidding with Charlestown and the Boyos and bidding with the Southie guys. It's just a little bit different. And just explain it, man.
Well, for me, like, I always consider myself neutral. I had a lot of friends from Charlestown. Obviously, I'm from Southie. If it ever came down to it, I'm a Southie guy.
Right,
I put that out there. I'm a Southie guy first and foremost. But I had a lot of friends from Charlestown. Like Gavi. Gavi was my buddy. Rest in peace, Gavi. And a lot of other guys. I won't play the name game right now, but so I always consider myself neutral. And Hickey, my celly, was a Charlestown guy.
Yeah.
Yep. But there weren't many of us in general, so we were all together. It wasn't like Southie guys together, Charlestown. There weren't enough of us to be doing that.
Right.
It was just me and Oki from Southie. Sean was the only Charlestown guy there. Kenny's from Brighton, I believe. So
right.
It was really us four, and then there was like other guys. You know what I mean? Like guys that weren't that relevant, but they kind of hung around.
They still make it good though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They bring the laughs. Everybody has value. You know what I mean? They'll either bring the laugh and like the recreation, or they got the visit or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everyone's good for something. You know. But I get the laundry job.
Right.
The atmosphere. The atmosphere was kind of chill.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bloods there. Stu.
Yep, I know
Stu was up there. My boy Shambo had just got there. A lot of dudes from Boston know who Shambo is.
Mm-hmm.
That's my buddy. He got a life sentence, unfortunately.
Let me ask you about this though. How did they run things over there as far as like structure and shit?
The cons of
the convicts.
You know how it is with the phones.
Yeah.
So we had 2 phones because which was okay because there wasn't a lot of us.
Well, explain just how many phones there are and just how it works, because people don't know.
8 phones, right. So sometimes there can be 10 gangs there alone. Never mind the white guys or whatever. So
actually, you know what? I changed my mind, because there's the 8 phones, then they added those 2 new phone posts in, so there's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 phones.
On the pillar,
but they don't always all work. There'd be like 2 3 phones that don't work.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's always phones that don't work.
People take the magnets out to use them for speakers and shit.
Yeah. And then if you're not, like if the white guys weren't on the phone, like they'd be coming to us, hey, you mind if we make a call? And
right.
But
was there like racial tension over the phones?
Not over the phones. There was with classification. I can get to that. But when I was at G2, no, G2 was pretty chill at the time. Which I was okay with. I was an older guy now. I've been doing this shit for a long time, in and out, and I just want to get the fuck home at this point.
Right. What was your structure? What was your routine like during the day?
I would go upstairs to for the MAP program. Up on the 3rd floor. So every morning, G2 and I think J2, we went together. One other block, I forget, but there was 2 blocks, one at a time. And right from there, I'd go to laundry. Laundry was like having a real job. It was from like 8:30 in the morning till like 2:30, 2:45, like shift change. And you come back, obviously you got to stay for the count. They'll let you out for a shower. Then, so I really only get one rec, the nighttime rec. You know, and
were you hustling, making stamps and shit like that on the laundry?
Well, if people know Conley, that
I know Conley's a hilarious CO. Oh my god,
nuts. He is fucking crazy. You know, if he's watching this, bro, what up, Conley? He probably would be. I'm serious. Like, he's that crazy.
He used to bring in photo albums of his family and shit, and like show the other COs at the desk. And if you came near him, he'd be so proud of his like family, and he'd be like, "This is my son, and this is my kid." And it's like, yeah, bro. He used to like be a bug over the forks and spoons and shit on the block. He'd be like, only one fork, one spoon. He would try to hand it to me. I'd be like, I don't like my other people's hands touching my spoon. I'd convince him to let me get it, and he did. I'd grab a whole handful. He'd be like, oh, you know, I'd have a heart attack. That dude was so uptight.
Yeah, he was such a conspiracy theorist. There's only 2 guys in laundry, right? So when I first get there, it's me and the Hamilton Strangler, right? Nice guy, right?
Yeah.
Nice guy. You know, Weichel gave him that nickname.
Yeah.
So it's me and him. He's an older guy. He's like 60, but he's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
Works out like all day. When we're not working, he's working out. He's one of those guys into God. You know, he's a God guy now. And so he was like a gentleman. He was okay to be around. That was my routine. But I got to go, me and him, I think we're like the only 2 guys that got to go to every block. The only place I couldn't go was DDU and PC.
That's what I was gonna say. Is you get the movement of the whole
that's the
prison
thing
and
about
shit like that.
That's the thing about having a laundry job. You know, it can be a benefit and it can be a headache.
Did you ever get like the packages and like send packages and kites through the laundry?
Oh, that's all I was doing.
Yeah,
you know? That's all I was doing. But everyone liked me. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't a sucker. Obviously, you know, I was being compensated for what I did. I'm not doing it for nothing. You know what I mean? Unless you were one of the homeboys, you know, trying to get them, you know, sneakers or food, whatever it may be. But it was getting tougher to do that stuff because Conley was a bug. He's the type of guy who'd be checking the bags, you know, he was a real bug. It wasn't as easy as you would think, or it was in the past. You know, I won't keep hopping on Conley, but he's fucking crazy, man. Getting over on him, I could get over on every other CO in the joint, right?
Yeah.
And then it would be him. He was a different story. Like it really took work to get over on him. Usually, cops are not that hard to get over on, but he was hard to get over on.
Yeah.
And
he wanted that job for real.
Yeah. He liked it because he got to sit in the office alone on the computer all day. He was trolling people on the computer all day long. Yeah. That's all he did. Yeah. We would go in, we'd do our rounds, go up, pick up all the laundry. Whoever had laundry that day, we'd walk around, pick up the laundry. We'd come back, boom, right in his office, fucking trolling people. He'd come out like an hour later and start talking to us about politics or about, you know, this and that. So you could get him going easily.
Yeah.
So that's how I did. I kind of distracted him with the conversation. Yeah. And the other guy would do it or vice versa. Yeah. And that was obviously part of the game, you know, moving stuff around.
How much did you think you make like a week doing all that?
You know, it depended where I was too, what unit I was in. So G2, I had just gotten the job. I wasn't doing much, and people weren't asking me to do much because they know I just got the job. Once I got comfortable and I started doing it at G2, but you know, it wasn't a lot of. It was usually kites and stuff like small stuff. You know, so it was pretty simple.
Like little pieces of Suboxone.
And stuff that fit in a kite. You know, and
were you getting high up there?
I was on the MAP program.
Okay.
So honestly, like I was, obviously I would get 60 milligrams a day. I might take 4 tops. You know. And
then what? Sell the rest?
Whatever, hit off like whoever. If one of the guys is sick, obviously I'm not going to charge them. But yeah, you know, I just supplemented my income.
Right. And were you there in the max prior to all that stuff like that, or did you get there after all that?
I got there after it.
Okay. And did you ever end up getting sent to the north side?
No, but I was there on the north side with classification for a while. The only thing on the bottom of the north side now, I'm sorry, it was DDU, 2 long-term hold. Might have been like pre-PC block. That's what it was. Like guys that weren't classified to PC yet, but were going. It was kind of a block like that. I think it was like L1 was like that at the time. It was strange. Yeah, the only, like I said, the only place I couldn't go was DDU because they have a steel cage on the front of it. You can, you know, you come to the first sally port, you go straight from one, and then you go around like that to the second one. They had a cage, like you can't even get in it. And then right after the cage was one of those screeners. You know, bag screeners, like they have at the airport. Like it was,
I know.
Security is tight there. You know, like they definitely check. You couldn't really do nothing for them because they checked every bag like thoroughly when we went back.
Being around these Southie guys and doing time, do you know Jody Olson?
No, I know of Jody. He's been in a long time. Like he was from Old Harbor, or that was his area. I was from the Tyne, which is the Point. He was like obviously an older kid, and I knew who he was. I'd seen him around, but like I never really talked to him because he was older than me.
Right,
and then and he went away. I was still probably maybe late teens. He'd been down a long time from what everybody says. He was up there forever. Everyone would talk about him. Conley would always talk about him, and he finally made it to Norfolk. So like all those guys that were involved in that, most of them were in Norfolk, and most of the Charlestown guys were gone.
What was their attitudes towards the Charlestown guys over there? Did they still talk shit about them and shit?
No, because like I said, it was only Hickey at the time. He was the only Charlestown guy. It was just me and Okie from Southie, a couple random guys, you know what I mean, that I can't even remember their names. So we didn't have a lot of guys, so we stuck together pretty tight.
Did you have any tension with like the Bloods or any?
We had tension with the Outlaws. Okie, I mentioned him last time. I was on JP, the kid from Worcester.
Yep, I know JP. Yep.
So him and Okie had this thing where they were going back and forth, and it escalated. Like JP was getting on the phone. Okie was just leaning over the railing. And he was like, "What are you doing on the white phone?" or something like And then JP said something. Okie's like, "Yeah, come, let's go right now." Bro, they locked in, and so right away I seen the kid Lou Selly go up the other stairs. So I ran to the other staircase and went up, and we kind of got to the door at the same time. And he's like, I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." He's like, "No, you get out of here." I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here." And then Kenny came up, so I think he thought he was gonna get jumped. So he was smart enough to leave. So he walked at least away like halfway down the stairs, and then the door opened quick. Then they started fighting again, door shut. And Okie was 55, I think, at the time. This kid's like fucking 27. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it looked like Okie got the best of him, you know? I wasn't at the window watching the whole thing, but that's the way it looked. They both were marked up, but JP was leaking.
JP's been known to stab some
stuff, that's the thing. That's why I'm getting to the tension.
Okay.
Obviously, we know that. We know that kid's...
He's built for the movie.
Yeah, he's down. You can't sleep on him. So, we had to take everything out from hiding and be ready. But they were outnumbered. We were a small group. They were even smaller. It was really just JP, Sally, Lou, and then maybe one other kid. And they were a little weary because they were outnumbered, And but still, we were... Every time JP would get close to Okie, like, everyone would kind of beeline over there, you know what I mean? Just in case it popped off.
How long did that last for?
A week or two,
and how does tension like this, you guys are bumping heads, living on the same unit, you get no relief from each other. What do you do? Like, how do you live around each other and just not pop off and just get out of the way? It
wasn't my beef. You know what I mean? So, like, I was just there for Okie. If it popped off, then obviously I was the only Southie guy, so it was on me. So I definitely felt the tension, but it wasn't my tension. So...
anyways, I think it's more like those two are two solid white dudes.
Yeah, that's kind of how it people, I think, like talk to him, like, come on, bro, even though you're out, like, still a white dude, like just squash it, like, it's over, And
so JP was an outlaw?
Yeah.
Because I don't think he was doing all that when I was with him, but what is it like as far as white people being in gangs in G2 and all that?
What other gangs were up there?
Like other racial gangs, like Bloods or Crips and things like that.
Bloods, it was a blood unit. I was on the lower side. Worcester. No, I'm sorry. A lot of Worcester dudes, right? They were probably the most... had the highest number of people for as far as like gangs or like cliques, They were deep. A lot of Springfield kids came in. It was filled with Springfield kids. I got along with most of them, because I was in classification and it was mostly, they were Bloods. I'm not a gang member, so I don't know the politics, but they were like, it seemed like they were a different set of Bloods than the ones that were there because they were having problems with each other, Classification was wild, classification was wild, and it was all fights because no one had steel yet,
And did you witness any of these fights?
Yeah, I was right there for them all.
What was the craziest one you've seen out there?
I seen a few, but this one, these two Bloods set it on another Blood. I guess this kid He's a Boston kid. Did a lot of jumping people in South Bay, and everyone was like meeting up now in classification. They weren't doing that color code already, or this gang here, that gang here. Like everyone was just going in, and they were just learning how to run it. It just opened. You know what I mean? So they were kind of just getting the gist of things themselves.
Yeah.
I saw one, like I said, my buddy Brian O'Neill. So we're sitting at the back of his cell. I remember he's in cell 6.
Yeah.
We're sitting in there talking. Look straight out towards like the bottom of the stairs on the other side.
Yeah.
They just came from both sides, right? They set it up, but what happened was they had him on the ground, bro. They were beating the brakes off this kid, right? They I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Like I've seen a lot of fist fights, don't really make you, but I was like, holy shit, and then they dragged him by his dreads up to the stairs, right? Because it had moved over towards the tables. They dragged him by his hair over to the stairs, put his head. They tried to curb him.
Damn.
Yeah, they did curb him. They did curb him.
Two white dudes?
No, it's two black Springfield dudes, and that were Bloods.
Yeah.
Or 1-1, I think it was a Boston one and a Springfield one, and it was the Boston kid that they got.
And so that kid that they got was in a Blood, or he wasn't?
No, I think he was, and that was. I think that's why they got him, because they were saying he was claiming it and he wasn't.
Oh,
I think that's what actually started the whole thing. Is he was
false flagging, right?
He was false flagging. He was saying that he's part of a gang and he really wasn't.
That shit's not how you do it up there. You go in and keep it 100, because anything like that's gonna catch up to you. You got so many people.
Yeah, your number's gonna get called if if you're involved in that gang stuff. Like your number's gonna get called sooner or later. Like I wasn't even a gang member, and like having to, the people you're down with, obviously you have to have their back. So a lot of it was that. I mean, I had a couple things that were with myself, but it didn't really escalate because I ended up in the Lifers block. I'll get to that. So Okie left. Okie went to Concord. Okie went to Concord. They told me I could move to the Lifers block because I had the laundry job. I got up there. The Lifers block is a privileged block. Cells are open all day, both sides. There's a microwave. Hot pot with water. Like it's a lot more comfortable than anywhere else.
Definitely some more privileges up there. And shit too, man. Like, what were you up there with Rocky? Old man Rocky from Southie. God bless his soul. He passed away too. Yeah, But yeah, go ahead.
So, in Lifers block, there's some serious people there. Yeah. They've been down a long time. It's it was one of those places where it was laid back a lot more than the other units, but if something happened, it was more serious. It's like the consequences were
Did you ever see anybody have to push that blade up there?
Yeah, over Chad.
Okay.
So I hadn't met Chad yet, right? And I heard a lot about him.
Yeah.
I know you guys have talked about him. Like Chad's he's a good dude, man. But anyway, I hadn't met him yet. There's this guy there from New Hampshire. Donnie.
I know him.
So he was a New Hampshire. Yeah, I didn't talk to him much, but the little I did.
With the long hair?
Yes, that's the long white hair.
Yeah.
Him and Chad were tight, and Chad went in on some black dude over something. Pills, I think.
I was there when that happened. So you were over there when that happened. I was there, or I wasn't there on the block, but I was a different unit. I was going home soon.
Where were you?
I was down in I was in the pre-release block,
re-entry. Yeah, re-entry block.
Yeah. Yo, was this over the legal work? The dude was a rat, and
he put Johnny's.
Oh, okay. Let's get into it. I want to talk about this because this is a good story.
Yeah, he had gotten Chad logged. All right, that's I don't know the specifics, but I know he got Chad logged, or at least Donnie perceived it as this guy was responsible for getting Chad logged.
This guy worked in the library, right?
Yeah, old black guy. Yeah,
yep. I know exactly. But all right.
So anyway. Donnie goes in on him, and he didn't get him that good, but he got him.
Yeah,
he definitely got him. The guy was fucking screaming.
Yeah.
So he leaves.
And Donnie don't play games either. I just want to say that Donnie would try to kill that dude.
Oh yeah, he definitely wasn't trying to just hurt him. He was trying to kill him for sure. He just didn't get him good.
Yeah.
But so anyway, Donnie leaves. Chad comes in. Chad comes back. So it's my first time meeting Chad. You know how it is when someone comes around, like you don't really talk at first. Yeah. People are watching each other, sizing each other up, or seeing how he moves if he's a decent guy. Like
right.
The routine. It wasn't long before me and Chad became friends.
Yep.
We were pretty tight. But another, I get to this, I actually might have skipped this. Another Southie dude came in, and it was one of my homeboys, like for a real kid from my neighborhood like that. I really knew, serious, wild, serious cat. God bless whoever has problems with him. But so I'm in K1, the Life is Block.
Yep.
My cousin keeps telling me, hey, I don't want to say his name because I don't know if he wanted to be said, but so-and-so's in classification up there. Can you look out for him?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at the names on the laundry bags every time we do the laundry, and I can't find it. Like, I never see his name. And I don't know if he's here, man. Like, fucking, I see everyone's bags, and I don't see his name. I haven't seen his name yet. All of a sudden, one day in laundry, right, we look in the cot. I'm like, that's not someone's laundry. That's all their fucking property. You know what I mean? So I'm like Conley, fucking, this is someone's property, and I knew they must be moving.
Right.
So I look, it's my buddies.
Okay. Okay.
So Conley wasn't the type to let you like give stuff to people.
Right.
So the screw came down to get Joe his stuff. Conley, because like I had been working there for a bit at that time, he let me give him a sweatsuit and whatever. You know what I mean? Some stuff that he would have had to wait to get.
Right. Which is solid. That's good shit.
No, it's
sometimes Conley comes out of the left field with it.
Not often, but once in a while. I had that job for a long time. Yeah. Although I mean, like for a while,
Right.
A year and a half. That's a long time to stay at one thing up there without getting in trouble. You know, but it was easy for me to stay out of trouble because I was off the block all day, so there was no way for me to get in trouble. You know what I mean? It's just me and whoever I work with. Right. Unless I crashed out, doing that stuff.
And let's just talk about, since we're talking about Chad, let's talk about what Chad's locked up and what he's facing right now, because this is terrible, right? So Chad got locked up for pulling a curtain during a fight, which turned into a murder. Because he pulled that curtain this far shut, because any convict walking by that door would have pulled that curtain shut. He pulled it this far shut, and boom, he gets a life sentence for this. Now, they said he conspired with these other people in this to commit this murder, but that is total nonsense. There's no conspiracy in Michael Freeman's mind. Something happens, I'm killing this fucking dude. Nobody knew Mikey was gonna kill him. Nobody knew. And that's a fact. But and then he gets a life bid, so now he's on the lifer's block with you.
Me and Milkweed was with me.
Milkweed was with you too. That's his co-defendant.
47 and 48 in the lifer's block. They were right next to each other. Milkweed was a good dude too.
And how was Chad taking it when he was over there with you?
Chad been in for a long time, so like he definitely wasn't showing any emotion over that stuff. And he was in a conundrum, all right, because of the Fed case. So he can't even parole on that. Because he has an open Fed case. The feds won't take him, Vice, they won't take each other. So he's kind of stuck in no man's land. He doesn't even have a shot at getting out right now, unfortunately.
I mean, but the thing is, though, if the feds, so he does have a shot at getting out, I think. I like to always think justice should be served, right?
I mean, if he overturns it, yes, obviously. But I'm saying, as it stands, if hypothetically he didn't overturn his case, he's stuck in a real bad place because the feds won't take him until he's finished with Mass, and Mass won't parole him because he has an open Fed case.
And it's the worst because the feds picked him up on a case that he caught while incarcerated in DDU for a murder he had nothing to do with. So he would have never been in DDU had that not taken place, and he had not been wrapped up in something that he didn't have any idea or knowledge of in the first place. So that's fruit of a poisonous tree, if you ask me. If he goes back into court and he does get the appeal, I think that he should get that case wiped because he wasn't even supposed to be there. You know what I mean? And that was a lugging case where a nurse was bringing him drugs. Shame on the nurse. You know what I mean? That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to try to get drugs from you. That's your fault. You know what I mean? I mean, props to every nurse that wants to bring us shit.
Yeah, right.
Because we need that.
We need more of you.
Word. You are a blessing.
Yeah.
Angels.
You are friends for sure.
Yes.
So, me and Chad, get to know each other, become friends. And but my homeboy, I didn't get to that part. So remember how I was saying, just to rewind for a second.
Yep.
The property, and I was like, oh shit, this is my homeboy's property, and Conley finally did something okay, and he let me give him shit.
Yep.
He goes to a different camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
A medium. I know he's there. I swear to God, it's only like a week or two later, right? My cousin's like, hey, guess who's on his way back up to the max? And I'm like, what? Oh, Jesus,
Yeah.
He didn't last long in the medium. He fucking crushed some dude who thought he was like the toughest guy there.
Yeah.
Found out he wasn't.
Yeah.
Found out he wasn't the toughest guy the hard way.
Yeah.
And it was a fist fight. That's the crazy part. No one gets sent to the max over a fist fight.
Yeah, I did.
But this kid's, you too?
Yeah.
This kid's fucking, like, he's dangerous, like, just with his hands, like, you know what I mean?
This can be fucking dangerous, bro.
I don't want to say too much because I don't want to put his business out there, and I don't know if he would want me to say his name, so I'm not going to do that.
No, it's respectable.
The
story's still good without his name.
Yeah, he's my homeboy regardless. My cousin's like, hey, can you try to get him a job? Because he's, he's on sanctions, he's on this, he's on that. I'm like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. So, because the laundry's right next to the gym, so I got to know the gym cop. He would come in laundry every day and talk to Conley and talk to us.
Right.
And so I'm like, hey, I need a favor. I need you to give my buddy a job, even if it's a no-show, but he just needs to get the good time.
Right.
And he's like, who is it? And I told him, and he was like, I'll see, I'll get back to you. And he came back and said yes. Well, no, long story short. Mm-hmm. He came back and said yes. So, I swear to God, this is crazy how it happened. The day he's coming back to the max, right, out of the hole and wherever coming back to the max, the Hamilton Strangler, his 18 to 20 had just ended. Yeah. But they hit him with a cold case murder from the 70s.
Damn.
So they had let him stay in the max for a bit, but finally they came to him like, you got to go back to county. Like, you're not a state inmate, you have to go back to county. We can't be responsible for you.
Yeah.
So they sent him. So the day they sent him back, my homeboy comes up.
Yeah.
And put him in J2 or something. He was either in J2 or
K2.
H2, like one of those blocks. Kim all of a sudden comes in, right? And I asked I asked Conley, I'm like, who are you gonna hire? I'm like, please don't hire some fucking dickhead. I gotta spend 8 hours a day with him. Like, please don't hire. He's like, no, don't worry about it. He's like, I'm very selective,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
The white guys.
Yeah, he's good to the white guys. So all of a sudden, Kim comes down. She's like a high up in administration. I forget exactly the title. She's like, Shaughnessy, do you vouch for this kid? I'm like, absolutely. And she was like, well, I know about him. I just found out. Fucking rah, 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 rah. If he hurt someone, you're going with him. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, I'm going to put him in laundry with you. If you're friends with him, I'm going to put you with him. Yeah. And maybe he won't get in trouble. He slid in. He's just getting back to the max. He's on sanctions. Slides into the job. Like a couple days later, life is blocked. Like he.
Yeah, they respected his gangster.
Yeah, and I helped a little. I had to be in their ear a little bit.
Yeah.
But definitely. So he had a smooth transition, and like I said, I always had extra money, a canteen around, so it was able to. You know what I mean? It wasn't a problem until he got. That's why I say it was easy for me to keep out of trouble. I was in laundry Monday through Friday all day with my homeboy. You know what I mean? So that eliminates 2 wrecks right there that, I would, have an opportunity to get in trouble.
Right. Were you there on the block when that dude, so Donnie found paperwork on him and printed it out and copied it and fucking gave it to everybody on the block so that when that dude came back to the block, someone moved on him like right away. Yeah. Like, he didn't even know, what the fuck happened before it happened. Like,
so much stuff happens up there.
Yeah.
You kind of lose track unless it's like something really
that stands out.
Yeah, memorable.
So how do you end up going to Florida?
All right, so we'll get to that. So let me finish with this because I'm in the Life is Block, just chilling. Davey Weichel. I was with Weichel was there with me. So when I got over there, he had introduced me to everyone that I didn't know. It was a good block. It was all our old fucking solid guys that had been down a long time, like Mikey Mappo.
Yep.
That's where I met Mikey in the.
And are you with Mikey now?
Yes.
So let me ask you about Mikey because I haven't spoke to Mikey in a minute. He's an old school lifer. He had a murder.
He's on lifetime parole, so he can't unfortunately, that's why he can't like come.
Can't
over
come
here.
up here and talk.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you tell Mikey that I send my love and regards.
I already have.
Me and Mikey spent a lot of time. He did not like when I was on the block with him sometimes, I think, because I would always end up beating someone up and getting it locked down, and he'd be like, oh, these young kids with these shenanigans, you know, because they, you know, all the old timers, man, they just wanted smooth, you know what I mean? And we were just gusto, you know, but.
That's why the Life is Block was so chill, you know what I mean? Like,
everybody had the same mindset.
Yeah, you know, everyone's getting good time, and half the block wasn't Life is.
Right.
That's the thing. You know, they call it the Life is Block. Half of it is guys not doing a life sentence.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 years, I think.
You know, if you have a, you know, or even if you have certain jobs, kitchen guys, if you were high up in the kitchen list, you could get in there. So it definitely wasn't all lifers, but half of them were. You know, Jose Colon, because he was a, what do you call it, Class A, right?
Yep.
A level class.
All of them. Level A, same thing with Rocky. Yeah. Rocky was level A, dude. Old man Rocky, he's hilarious, bro.
Oh, you know who, my neighbor, he killed the DA.
Jeff?
Jeff. Jeff Bly. Jeff Bly. Jeff Bly was my next door neighbor.
He was my barber.
And Scotty, the one, Sinelli's co-defendant, was on the other side of me. He was a really good dude. I spent a lot of time with him.
Was he mobbed up? No.
No, he was just like, I don't know, he's really into like Nordic history.
Yeah. There's those guys all over the place,
but he had a level A, he got it dropped. He's gone. He got out of there. Unfortunately, Chad can't. Milkweed can't. When I left, they were still stuck there. So, and that's the best it's going to get for them. You know what I mean? Life is block up there.
So let's get into how you get to Florida.
All those years ago when I did that time, when I got out, Florida didn't have like a probation or parole. These are called the supervised release.
Yeah.
I had to get mine transferred. They gave me 7 days to get it transferred to Massachusetts, or else I had to come back to Florida. Because of the amount, like technically the amount of time I could face, it was supposed to go to Superior Court. But Jack Leary was able to accept it. I think with like, you know, kind of lying by omission.
Right.
You know, he's just saying I'm a probation officer.
Right.
So he got it transferred for me, thank God. So I didn't have to go back down there. And I was on probation out of Southie Court for something else anyway. So the same guy was you know, had me for both of them. I was doing the right thing. I hadn't even started acting up yet, and he came to where I lived, and I wasn't home.
Right.
And he just violated me.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't know. He was known for being a dickhead.
So where were you? How did you end up at home? Because you said you were in the max. I thought you got extradited or something like that.
No, I'm talking about all those years. How I ended up in Florida.
Yeah.
It starts with this.
Oh, okay.
So all them years ago, that happened. 2004, I go into the Bay for a year.
Yep.
I wrap up in 2005. I wrap it up on a Monday. Friday, Drew Honahan was with me. They're like, you know, Shaughnessy comes to caseworker. So I go in and I'm like, what's up? And like all nonchalant, she was like, yeah, by the way, you're not going home Monday. You're going to get arraigned as a fugitive from justice. Florida said they're coming to get you. I'm like, fuck. Right? That was a long weekend, you know, waiting for that. So Monday comes, I go to BMC. Go to Nashville Street. They give him 3 weeks to come get me. I was there with Mark Russell, Brian Smith, on 6-3 in Nashville Street. I remember this time. And this was probably the worst thing I've ever experienced, like, in the correctional system. So, 14 days in, they open my cell. You got court today.
Yeah.
There's only one reason I could have court. They're here.
Yeah.
So, I get to BMC. You know, these two guys, they're not, they're private extradition company. They're not like Florida deputies or anything.
Right.
They're called Mid-Florida Extraditions. I remember exactly who they were. It was a white guy and a Spanish guy. And they didn't get along. But anyway, so, long story short, like, all right, you know, I waived extradition. I go with them. We go down into the parking lot. I'm like, where are we going? I'm like, Logan or like Andrews Air Force Base, where are we going? He said, no. And I was like, all right. I said, well, where are we flying out of then? He was like, we're not flying. We're going 95 south. But they drove me back to Florida, and they were picking up people, picking up people, dropping them over. Bro, it was like 6 fucking days before I got there. On the 6th day, like in the middle of the night, I finally got it back to Rock Road, Fort Pierce, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't have been happier to get there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you about the van and the trip and shit.
Oh my God.
So do they feed you?
Hey, I'm getting nightmares. Yeah, listen to this. So you spend the night in a county jail, like wherever they're on the road for 16 to 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
And whenever the time comes, wherever the closest county jail is, that's where you go. Boom, and they book you in, like everything. You go, so you eat breakfast there in the morning. As soon as you finish, you're back on the van. two McDonald's hamburgers or cheeseburgers in a cup of water twice a day. That was for lunch, and every day they would give. That's what they gave us.
Yeah.
Right. They wouldn't even get us fries, or they were scumbags. Ian were black boxed. Right.
Oh, that
shackled, black box, like
time.
The van's got that, the arc in it, so it's like you got it humped over.
So you're in a rickety van?
Oh, listen to how crazy they are. So yeah, like the same type of van you go to court in.
Oh my god, dude!
Except the partition in the middle was metal. It was like the thing, so you could see through it. You know what I mean?
Oh.
So you could see the people on the other side. They put your property, right? There's a cage like under the seat.
Yeah.
They put your property underneath you. So if you piss like that's so sometimes like I guess it was a thing where like they wouldn't stop when people needed to use the bathroom. People would piss on the floor. So they're so dirty. They put your property on the floor.
Oh,
so if you piss, like you're pissing on your stuff. That's how grimy they were. It was crazy. It was a bad experience.
Did you ever get stuck having to take a piss?
Yeah, like they would only go like.
I appreciate everybody for showing up. W number. Ow! There you go, man. That's it.
All the conversations around me, I kept hearing the word bomb. Right? At that point, I realized like they were not letting us through.
Yeah.
Now I kind of focused down. I could see, there's people laying everywhere. It was chaos. But it definitely was like that there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know how it is. The guys are nervous, so they put a show on. Instead of just being themselves and being a decent guy, they try to act tough and hope that no one leaps. There's definitely a lot of those guys, but there are a lot of good guys up there too.
Yeah.
When I first got up there, I think it was Brian O'Neill, the Worcester kid. I hung with him pretty tight, and because he was the only one there really that I knew when I got there. Guys just kept coming in. And a few more Southie guys came in.
You ran with the Southie guys? Obviously, you're from Southie.
Well, that shit was kind of dead when I was up there. That had already been done and over with,
And what do you mean by that? Like the Charlestown Southie?
Yeah, like that beef. From what I saw and from what I was told, it had been dead for a while.
Do you have any homeboys that you know of that were involved in it?
Oh yeah, like I mean, passed away. Frankie Benjamin. I know he was one of the original kids involved in that. That kid was a maniac.
Yeah.
I know a lot of those guys were in Norfolk, though.
Right.
From what I was told, most of those guys were in Norfolk. It was really weird because it was hard in classification because they had closed down kind of most of Concord. Most of Concord had gotten closed down, too. I guess it was like only programs now. They had like, was Emerson College and Tufts. If you weren't already there doing a program, I guess they cleared it out,
Okay.
Like the West was closed down. I went there and I was in the van and I went in there coming back from court one day and it looked like a ghost town.
Yeah.
It really did. Like police stations or stuff like that.
Yeah, dude.
Stop, man. They were brutal.
Imagine if you had to go on the highway too when you're on the long one. They ain't stopping.
Oh, it was brutal, man. That was the worst thing I've ever experienced.
Did it get hot in that shit?
Oh my God. It was May, too. It was this time of year.
Yeah.
I think it was like May 14th or 15th, right? 2005. I remember exactly.
Yeah.
So, what's today's date? The 14th?
Yeah.
I swear to God, it could have been exactly 20 years ago that I left, to the day.
Yeah.
And, well, that's crazy. You know what's crazy, too, is the first stop we made is in Pennsylvania. It's just me. Like I fell asleep. I wake up. We're going over the George Washington Bridge in New York. Down. We're in fucking Maryland or something.
Yeah.
Oh man, this won't be too bad. It's just me.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. They go to Schuylkill, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's a federal place, Schuylkill, and they go in, set up the transfer for the morning, and then they bring me to county jail.
Right.
We're almost halfway there. I'm thinking this can't be that bad. We go back to Schuylkill. We pick up this black guy. This guy was fucking hysterical. Thank God he was on there. I think I would have broke if he wasn't on the van. It was that bad. And
God sent you a little gift.
Yeah, he was just like, every time you were about to lose it, he'd make you laugh.
Yeah.
Like those guys that like he knew when he was a good dude. And he had a state case going on in Florida, so he'd been taking this trip like multiple times. I can't imagine. And he said these guys were the worst ones that he's ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said they usually like when they stopped for food, they would get you a soda or a fry.
Right.
These guys were like fucking scumbags.
Right.
None of that.
That human compassion that normally people might have.
None of it.
Yeah.
And you could